In the dark, you probably have experienced an unsettling feeling or a slight fear of the unknown.
That weird feeling you get when you think you saw something jump out of the corner of your eye.
This fear of darkness has actually been developed through evolution in order to protect us, and this is sometimes referred to as a prepared fear. And we have more of these prepared fears such as snakes, spiders, thunder. Now, many scientists believe that the fear of the dark is because prehistorically, people would have been more at risk of being attacked by predators or by enemies when in the dark.
As a result, our ancestors, who were cautious in the dark, were more likely to survive and pass on their genes. But what if we weren't hardwired to evolutionarily fear predators, but something far more sinister?
A shadow is essentially a dark area where light from a light source is blocked by an object. It occupies all of the three-dimensional volume behind an object with light in front of it. The cross-section of a shadow is a two-dimensional silhouette, or a reverse projection of the object blocking the light.
The fear of shadows. Those fleeting, shape-shifting specters that dance in the periphery of your vision, triggering an ancient sense of unease that defies reason.
In the absence of light, the amygdala becomes more active, and the prefrontal cortex becomes less active, making the shadows you see in the dark seem more threatening.
These elusive figures lurking at the edge of our perception have haunted humans' consciousness for centuries. Are they mere tricks of the mind?
Tonight on Cauldron Convos, join us as we attempt to shine light on the shadow people, delve into the chilling accounts of those who've crossed paths with these shadowy apparitions, and dare to contemplate the spine-tingling possibility of shadows that move with a will of their own. In this episode, prepare to confront the fear that resides in the deepest corners of your mind, as well as right behind you, the fear of what lies just beyond light's reach.
Hey guys, what is up? It is Xenu and Kayla from the Cauldron Convos podcast. We'd like to thank you for tuning into our first audio-only podcast.
Woo! And this is quite enjoyable. We've been doing YouTube videos for a long time, and we had to get camera ready, but for this one, I'm in some flamingo jammies right now.
For the first time, I don't have to put my makeup on. On this week's episode, we're diving into shadow people.
Yes, and if you aren't aware what a shadow person or shadow people are, a shadow person is essentially what it sounds like. It is a person that appears to be just a shadow. But in a paranormal sense, refers to the perception of a patch of shadow as a living species, a humanoid figure, a spirit, or other entity.
That really reminds me of Peter Pan, how there's like a shadow guy
that follows him.
And he's trying to sew his shadow back on.
Why do we even care about learning about shadow people in the first place? I was thinking to myself that everyone tends to feel like their lives are just so busy. We just always overlook or dismiss the weird things that happen to us. Have you ever seen a shadow person?
Personally, no.
I have.
Really?
Yes. The first time I was in the Bronx, in my shoebox of an apartment that was infested with cockroaches, mice. A mouse literally landed on my roommate's chili, and he proceeded to eat it later that night. It was foul. It was disgusting, but that's besides the point. I was living in this room, right, in a little twin-size bed, a cot, more like it.
It wasn't meant to be a room.
It was not meant to be a room.
If you put your arms out, you could touch either side.
Picture that, but me sitting in bed, and like a shadow person, you see them in the corner of the room. My corner was like a hand away from me.
Yeah.
Or like an arm's length away from me. So I'm face to face with the shadow man. I Google everything. I'm immediately like, why is my poop green?
It's underdigested.
Thank you. I know. I've Googled it enough to know all the ins and outs and all the color coding of, okay.
There's a fun little chart on that.
Yeah, I know. I have that. It's my phone background. So I Google it, and I come to find out that it's normal. Well, it's not normal, but it's a common experience that so many people have, is seeing this shadow person, shadow man, shadow people, whatever. The Hat Man.
Well, I think everybody has a shadow, and everybody's inherently scared of shadows, so...
I'm not scared of shadows.
Well, would you rather be in a well-lit basement or a dark basement?
I'm more scared of killer clowns than shadows. Why don't I wake up in the middle of the night and see killer clowns?
Like John Wayne Gacy?
No, I don't want to.
He's a killer clown.
Okay, fine, a clown, whatever. Like, I'm just trying to think of a common fear that people have more than a shadow. I'm just saying, like, it's a very specific thing for all these people to experience. The Hat Man, sleep paralysis demon. Without me even ever hearing about shadow people, Hat Man, whatever, this happened to me. And I had to Google it. And I was like, holy shit, this is a thing. No one's ever told me a story that they've had it. Long story short, it's just weird to me that so many people have these experiences. We often overlook these crazy weird things that happen to us. Deja vu. Or like a weird coincidence. Like, have you ever talked about someone and the next day you've seen them in the mall and you literally haven't seen this person in 5 years? People don't usually research, dive into the paranormal stuff. They usually just blow it off as, oh, it's just a coincidence. Oh, whatever. But no, it's not just a coincidence. So many people across the world, without even knowing what shadow people are, without ever hearing about it, have experienced seeing a shadow person.
Well, the stuff that creeps me out is when you're like on Reddit and you're Googling something like, oh, I saw a shadow move in the corner of my room. And then like a bunch of other people have experienced the same exact thing.
Yeah.
But no one's kind of corroborated it.
Yeah, until they go on Reddit and it's like, whoa. See, what if these paranormal phenomenon have not been proven yet because there hasn't been internet forums until the past...
the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Well,
and now all of a sudden everyone's like, wait, I literally have seen that Hat Man. He literally ate my ass.
the Hat Man ate my ass and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. It is super interesting because if we look at shadow people and shadow legends from around the world, there are a number of religions, legends, and belief systems that describe shadow people, and they each have their own name for them. You know, it's pretty persuasive to me when you hear Native American tribes that have their own stories and creatures and shadow people, and then it kind of corroborates with a story from Asia, a completely separate part of the world where these people have been separated from one another for tens of thousands of years almost.
This is when they didn't have the internet forums.
Before they had Reddit, you know.
There's this one instance I actually found when I was, doing my little YouTube Shorts research. One of the recent ones I did was on a California cryptid called the Dark Watchers. What?
Are you sure they're just not the Hollywood executives?
Oh my God.
Which is the Dark Watchers.
It's Harvey Weinstein and Ryan Kavanaugh in the mountains. Maybe I'm making this up, but it seems to be like kind of a subset of the shadow people. You can't see their facial features. They're all basically like dark blobs, not blobs, dark people figures in the distance that you can't really see.
But they can see you?
And they just watch you. Yeah.
Well, how do you know they're looking at you? What if they're facing the other way? You can't see their eyes.
Because they're just standing on top of them. I don't know.
Oh,
I've never
man,
seen one.
that's scary.
And they always have like hats on, sometimes walking sticks.
Whoa, they got some swag.
So yeah, they're basically a group of entities that can be sometimes seen in the Santa Lucia Mountains, and they have been described as featureless dark silhouettes, often wearing brimmed hats. These dark watchers, basically what they do is they just watch and observe the travelers go by, specifically hikers that don't have technology on them, according to like a folklorist.
Oh, so convenient.
Oh yeah.
They
I know,
observe
right?
people with no cameras.
They probably just want to expose themselves to a more granola natural hiker.
Is this like a Native American legend, though, with Dark Watcher? Because then that would make
No.
sense. It's like a person that's overlooking the land.
So it's actually like mistaken to be a Native American legend. Before the Americans, they were seen by Spanish settlers when they were first trying to move into the area.
Oh, man. If I was a Spanish settler and I saw something on the hill with a wheel-brimmed hat, oh, my God.
I'm out of there. The point I'm trying to make, okay, is that these Spanish settlers witnessed the Dark Watchers and they called them something different. Los Vigilantes Oscuros. So they have their own separate experience with these entities that are separate to the Americans, whatever.
Well, honestly, if I was Native American and I saw some settlers cruising into my land, yeah, I'm going to go fuck with them. I'm going to go stand on the mountain with a hat on, stare at them, freak them out a little bit.
Since we're talking about the Choctaw people, they have a lot of stories about shadow-like beings, actually.
For example, the Nalusachito was a soul eater, a great black being said to creep inside depressed people's minds and eat their souls.
They were literally like, don't be depressed, don't have negative thoughts, or else this is going to happen. Like, just let me be sad without me having to feel like something's going to come into me and eat my soul. Out of all people that are going to go to the depressed people instead of people that do wrong and commit crimes, can't the shadow eat their souls?
Well, I think this is more along the lines of like a tall tale for people to not be sad.
But like, you don't have to threaten them.
It's like,
don't be sad or else.
It's like when your mom says, stop making that face. Your face is going to freeze like that. Well, you always hear about the tall tale, that one guy that's stuck with a funny face. But, I've never met him. Then there's the Nalusa Falaya, which resembled a man but has very small eyes and long pointed ears. He was known for frightening hunters. Yikes.
Yeah, and they also had this legend that every man had a shilombish, which translates to the outside shadow, which always followed him. And the shailip, the inside shadow or ghost, which after death goes to the land of ghosts. Now the shilombish was supposed to remain upon the earth and wander restlessly about its former home, often moaning to frighten its surviving friends. Watch out, guys. If you're listening to this and you're a friend of mine, actually no one listens to my podcast. That was my friend.
No friends.
Everyone's like, I'm so sorry, I want to support you, but I literally have no interest in this stuff. And I'm like, great. Well, I know who to send my ghost guy on. Oh, wait, no, I am the ghost guy, I guess. Yeah, I am the shilombish. It tried to make them forsake the spot and seek another place to live. It was also supposed to assume the form of a fox or owl, and by barking like the one and screeching like the other at night, caused great consternation, for the cry was considered ominous of bad things. The Choctaw could differentiate between the shilombish and the animals it imitates. They were so good that they could tell the difference.
Oh man, nothing is scarier than a paranormal or cryptid imitating something else. Dude, like, we read a story on our Native Americans podcast about a woman who was taking a shit in the middle of the night.
What?
And she heard a woman screaming in the woods.
Uh-huh.
And she sat in the outhouse all night because she was too scared to leave. And I'd probably just have a heart attack on the fucking toilet like Elvis Presley. They're gonna find me cold on the can with my pants down.
Now picture hearing like a screeching fox or whatever, screeching something, owl, and then being like, Tim, is that you, buddy? Like they can tell the difference. It's like they know it's not a real owl.
Honestly, I would probably just match its energy and screech back.
But when the shilombish imitates the sound of either animal, no response is heard. The shadow-like beings would often stalk children of younger adult age. The Kashhotapolo, hot potato.
God bless you.
The Kashahotapolo is a creature that is neither man nor beast. While having the legs and hooves of a deer, its body is that of a man.
Kind of reminds me of a centaur.
Yeah. His head and face are small and shriveled, and it is said that a person who looks at it will be visited by evil. When hunters go near the swamps it inhabits, it sneaks behind them to call loudly before quickly fleeing. Although it does not harm man, it takes delight in their fright as it yells a sound that resembles a woman's scream. For that reason, it was named Kashehotapolo. Kasheho, woman, tapolo, call.
Are you sure the hunters aren't just scared of their woman calling them?
They're like, crap, I have to go home.
It's just like an Indian tall tale. I don't think the Choctaw lived in wigwams.
Now that we talked about other cultures and this idea of shadow people, in addition to shadow people being a part of Native American culture, they are also a part of Islamic and Arabian culture and beliefs. According to Islamic and Arabian culture and beliefs, Iblis and Jinn are made from a smokeless fire. Jinn are essentially invisible beings and can be either good or bad, depending on if they are believers of the Muslim faith or not.
I really think we should do a full episode on Jinn.
Me too. And fun little fact, Jinn actually is the inspiration for genies, which is kind of cool. They are spiritually similar to humans in that they're actually capable of moral judgment and freedom of action, and because not all Jinn are bad, some actually have been friends and helpers of humans, though it is discouraged to do this in case it is an evil Jinn. Although they are generally invisible, they are associated with being shadow people. They are supposed to be composed of thin and subtle bodies, but they can also change at will. Many people believe that shadow people are actually just Jinn. A Reddit user wrote a post called "Shadow People Are Jinn." They stated, "They were here before humans. They are made up of a smokeless fire. Basically, if you light a candle, the heat on top of the flame is what they are made of. They live with us and amongst us, but cannot be seen. Their lifespan could range from hundreds to thousands of years old. They have the mental capacity of a 10 to 15-year-old. Most of them keep to themselves unless called upon or provoked. A lot of, quote, hauntings or supernatural activity is the result of witchcraft, Ouija boards, etc. They usually won't make contact unless they are called upon. Some actually fall in love with humans, and that could be a cause for contact. Humans have used them since the days of Babylon for black magic, which is another topic in and of itself. They're actually more afraid of humans than we are of them." I love when people say that. Not about Jinn, but about like anything. It's like, they're more afraid of us. Okay. Well, I'm pretty fucking afraid of them, so I don't know. I don't know what you're basing that off of, but okay. But anyway, the jinn and the countless shadow people stories that we told for Native Americans are just two of the cultures that have beliefs in shadow people of some sort. Now let's get into what psychologists and scientists like to say to throw us off our tracks, because we know that there's something up with these shadow people, and this is all BS that they write, but we're a podcast, and
we're gonna have to, we have to play devil's advocate, pop the paranormal bubble.
Exactly. We like to look at things skeptically.
As you should. Everyone should be skeptical.
But sometimes people are they just have no creativity. People just love shutting everything down paranormal. They're like, well, science.
Man, you go in the woods in the middle of the night and try taking a shit, and if you hear a woman scream,
Why
you
is
tell
everything
them
about pooping?
No, it's just you're vulnerable.
True.
You're very vulnerable.
I feel like you have had a bad experience.
Maybe I do.
You're very vulnerable.
Well, if you think about it, you don't just
Very
feel
vulnerable.
comfortable getting up and running because you're going to make a mess, and you're camping and you're going to get a rash.
Is this what happened at Boy Scouts?
No, I never
You're
actually.
gonna get a rash. You're at camp.
I just, that story stuck with me for the last 9 months.
I feel like there are a lot of other times you're vulnerable, like being naked is also, I feel like, equally worse.
Yeah, but naked,
I'd rather honestly have poop flying out of my butt than being fully ass
mobile.
naked.
You're mobile if you're naked. I guess you're more mobile if you have a little, a little oil.
Stop. Okay. Moving on to psychology and more scientific explanations. I'm going to start with the easy ones that we can just say, okay, no, this does not prove that shadow people aren't real or whatever, not paranormal. A lot of psychologists like to point out that shadow people are also reported by people under the effects of deliriant substances such as datura, diphenhydramine, and benzos, baby. They really think everyone in the world that has seen a shadow person was on one of these. Are you serious?
Is this just an episode of Euphoria?
I understand that drugs and mental illness, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, can cause these visual hallucinations.
But that's a little different than you're falling asleep and you see a little creepy dude in the corner of the room.
Okay, cool. I get that results in hallucinations, but you can't tell me what I didn't see wasn't real. You know what I mean?
Yes. Scientific explanations, several physiological and psychological conditions can account for reported experiences of shadowy shapes seeming alive. Sleep paralysis sufferers may perceive a shadowy, indistinct shape approaching them when they lay awake, paralyzed, becoming increasingly alarmed, and holy cow, can I speak to that experience. Many methamphetamine addicts report an appearance of shadow people after prolonged periods of sleep deprivation. I'm not surprised. There was a story of a woman that runs these ultra marathons. I forgot what podcast it was on, but she ran for 24 hours straight, and she was talking to a rabbit the last 10 hours or something crazy. The rabbit definitely wasn't there because the tortoise won the race, not the hare.
Okay, this is a crazy theory. Don't cancel me. What if the people that are doing these drugs are actually seeing shadow people? They're actually seeing them because they're actually
breaking
there.
the perception of reality. Wow. In a couple of years, they're gonna be microdosing meth.
Another theory is that these figures in our minds fill in the blanks and create something human-like from the shapes that we see. I forgot what the effect is. We always see faces and things. Our brain likes to make sense of whatever shapes and forms and patterns, specifically to be another human face,
to make it more familiar.
I don't know. I think that's also a bullshit thing. I remember one time when I was a kid, I had this really messed up nightmare. I woke up crying or something. And my mom tried to tell me that it was because there was a hat in the corner of the room with a bird on it.
It sounds like something your mom would say.
I was freaking out about probably a creature of some sort. My mom's like, oh, that was the Baltimore Orioles hat that's sitting up there. I'm like,
yo,
girl,
that guy's got
I
a
can't even
smile
see
on
that.
His face.
Who?
The Baltimore Orioles logo has a smile.
No, I don't think it was that kind of Oriole. I think it was it was old.
Scary Oriole.
I don't know. Did they change the logo? They rebranded. It looked like this before. So those are some of the psychology and quote unquote scientific explanations.
Now we're gonna go onto Reddit and we're gonna read some funny shadow people accounts. Well, they're actually quite frightening.
And who knows, they might not be very funny in 10, 15 years when we realize how common these occurrences are, and then someone researches them, and then we find out that shadow people are real.
Or meth heads are just smoking meth and then going into another dimension.
Exactly. This post on Reddit is called Seeing Shadow People as a Kid in r/paranormal. So basically, when I was a kid, about 9 years old, I remember a pretty horrible phase in my life where I would see shadow people everywhere.
Your parents' divorce? I'm sorry.
Child Protective Services.
When CPS
They're always in
came
my house observing my mom's teaching practice. Okay. They were all black people. They were all black, people-looking shadow silhouettes. They would appear in my room and just stand there and observe me. They would also sometimes walk around. Some would approach me and try to give me things. There was a man with a hat that always tried to give me a box. He would often come to me and reach his hand out to me with the box in it. I would also see random shadow faces pop up right in front of mine randomly. They weren't necessarily scary looking, but to me, just the fact that they were there all the time was extremely terrifying. I was so scared, my only solution was to ignore them. I was a kid after all, and I desperately hoped that they would go away and lose interest in me if I paid no attention to them. But they wouldn't. They were everywhere. It reached a point where I was basically at my mom's side all the time when she was home, and when she wasn't, I'd hide in my room under my blanket all day and wait it out. I can't remember how long exactly I was seeing those creatures, but to me it felt like a never-ending nightmare at the time. I did tell my mom about it, but at first she brushed it off and said I'm just imagining things or trolling her. You're just trolling me.
Imagine.
To your 9-year-old.
The mom just starts doing
What's the thing when they do the L?
That's like a Fortnite emote.
But it came more and more obvious that it wasn't the case. She came up with the idea that they were spirits, and that honestly just scared me even more. Spirits watching me? Hell no. What do they want? She got hooked on the thought of me being, quote, blessed with the gift of seeing spirits, so she sent me to a lady she found online that claimed to be able to do the same. I was so scared I just wanted them gone, no matter at what price. You a rich 9-year-old.
I don't care the price. Take my money.
I told her I wanted to be normal again, and she said she could perform a ritual to make me not be able to see them anymore. She laid me down and spoke some words I can barely remember now, and after the ritual, I was actually not seeing them any longer. At the time, I was just so happy they were gone, and I forced myself to never think of them again. She told me not to think of this anymore, as they might see it as a sign to come back to me. But after this, 2 big black dots started appearing on the walls of my room. One was just over my bed, and the other on the other side of the wall, at the same exact place. It wasn't mold.
He's like demonic bukkake.
Just unidentified black coloration. We would paint them over and they'd be back the next day. I got scared again, so my mom decided to give me another room of the apartment. After I switched rooms, they stopped appearing.
Oh man, it's time to move.
For years, I brushed it off, ignored it, and pushed it away. It was just too scary for me to deal with, but lately I've been wondering about what happened back then a lot. I just don't understand it, and I can't find anything online similar to what I've experienced. I'm an atheist and I believe in science, yet I have no possible explanation for this occurrence other than that I wonder now if I might be sick somehow. But the wall? What about the wall? Ever since that, quote, ritual was performed, I never saw anything like it again, and I just can't comprehend why and how. This person said, shadow person in gray/white mist just saved my life. 4 a.m., I'm driving back home, a 30-minute drive from downtown to where I live. I'm singing along to what's playing on the radio when I drive through a small underpass. On the wall of the underpass, I notice what I can only describe as a human-shaped black form. It catches my eye because even though everything is dark, this thing is darker than the shadows surrounding it. I lightly touch the brakes so the car slows down just a bit to see if I can make out what it may be, but soon I drive past without being able to make out any facial features at all. It's just a human-shaped shadow. That's odd, I think to myself, and keep driving and singing along to the radio. Couple miles further, I reach the exit in the highway that I must take to reach the area where I live. There's a traffic light that would allow me to cross the other side of the highway that runs in the opposite direction. I notice the headlights of a semi-truck getting closer, but they have the red light. I have the green light as I approach the turn and assume they will slow down and stop. Right before I proceed, this small car-sized gray/white mist floats by right in front of my car. It causes me to slow down for just enough to see the semi-truck fly past its red light. Someone said I had a shadow person remove my flu symptoms when I was 10. I don't think they're all bad or evil as some people say. Someone commented, I've read a story about how a shadow man stopped an abusive alcoholic father from hitting his son. I don't know what to think of it, but it's an interesting story. With all these stories being said, it's interesting to look at them and try to figure out what they are, if they are real. Hypothetically, let's just say they aren't hallucinations, they're not drugs, they're not meth addicts. Are they strictly night terrors? Maybe. I feel like we've already kind of talked about that theory. Like the sleep paralysis, demon, sleep deprivation, stress, lucid dreaming, whatever. Or are they just spirits? Are they ghosts that we don't realize that that's the form that they take on is like a black shadow? I think from what I've read on Reddit and whatever, that ghosts take on a different form and are different looking than these shadow people. I guess like the last kind of main theory people have are that they're interdimensional beings or time travelers that kind of like got stuck in this plane or whatever.
Yeah, they say that about deja vu. It's that your reality is colliding with another reality that you've already lived.
I kind of believe it.
I mean, it's weird. Deja vu is weird.
It's weird.
I'm assuming it's just a chemical thing in your brain.
No way, though.
I don't know.
But we're just assuming it again. To
Well,
make ourselves feel better.
we don't really understand consciousness.
I know, but that's crazy.
Couple years when we can watch our dreams. We'll get back to you on this. I mean, look, there's all this UFO stuff going on. What if they're aliens or some
that's
form
a theory
of,
too.
you know, and people are like, "Oh, that's not possible." Well, if we think about it this way, dude, my dog probably thinks my car is a freaking alien. My dog's like, "What? You can drive a car and go anywhere?"
That's exactly how it sounds, the dog.
Think about how much shit blows their mind.
And think about the shit that we have that would blow our ancestors' minds.
Dude, I do magic tricks for my dog that I think like a toddler could probably figure out how I do it.
No, but like the same thing is, imagine explaining to your great-great-great-grandparents that we have a podcast.
They would not understand it.
Exactly.
So who knows where we're going to be in a couple years. Maybe we'll know consciousness and we'll be able to talk to shadow people, or we'll try to, figure it out. I mean, I think it's interesting, like in your example of shadow people, I don't think that shadow person is malicious.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just like walking on by, like, "Hey, sorry, just gonna, on my way out.
Yeah.
How you doing?" Oh, it was in the Bronx. "How you doing, toots?"
I don't really think they're malicious either, though, because, like, what do they want? You know?
What can you give a shadow person?
Like, what do you want from
like
me?
your soul. Yeah. I don't know.
No,
Maybe your soul.
Know. But another point about the whole alien thing or the interdimensional being or whatever is that they always seem to kind of observe. They're just like watching you in a corner.
It's like a zoo.
Yeah, maybe they're aliens or whatever, interdimensional beings or time travelers, but their jobs are literally to come and study. They're the ones in charge of studying, but there's a whole planet. There's doctor ones, shadow people.
It's pretty crazy that they would come all the way here and then crash their plane and then get tested on by the U.S. government.
Just to come all the way here to study me in my Bronx apartment with my cockroaches. There are other people to watch right now.
Well, maybe that's fascinating.
Before you make fun of us on us believing in them, watch yourself because they might make a visit to you tonight.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to our first audio-only podcast. If you're interested in following us on Instagram at the Almighty Xenu and Kayla Cauldron, come say hi. Follow us on YouTube.
Anyways, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you guys next time here on Cauldron Convos. Bye.
Bye.